Here we go. This is going to be something completely new for both of us. Live reverse consulting on the spot.
Oh, I'll go with client first.
Oh, okay. So Candyce, please tell me, why do you want to build a personal brand?
Right now, my personal brand is more important than the company brand.
You want people to understand that you can help them find their ideal clients on LinkedIn.
I'm using the same exact methodology that I'm teaching.
Let's put your website here so you have an idea. And ideally in the next 3 to 6 months, we should see that keyword go up.
Yeah, these are really great tips. Thank you. I'm going to have to come back and watch the recording of this. So, all right, you want to switch?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. So generally people book a meeting with me because they've seen a post on LinkedIn. We've had a DM conversation, or they've contacted me on the website, talked back and forth via email. I've asked them questions about what's important to them based on some nugget I found on their profile. So I might have reached out to you and said, Alejandro, I really liked your post the other day about personal brand. And I might ask you a question to start a conversation about what kinds of clients do you find are the most likely to use your services. And so you'd probably answer that, something simple to answer, and we get a conversation going. And then I would probably ask a question about how you're using LinkedIn and come back, and then we would chat back and forth. And people usually ask me about LinkedIn because they see in my profile headline that that's what I do. And so then I would ask you, would you be interested in getting acquainted over Zoom? You'd say yes. I would send you a Calendly link and you would book a meeting with me. Note, I don't send you the Calendly link before you say yes. That's a really important key for anybody listening to this. My booked meeting ratio goes way up when I don't push.
Yeah, and I have to say it was, I remember that message. It stands out because there's so many people pitch slapping that when you do it right, it's just like, it feels so good. So yes, I remember that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you want people to want to meet you. You know, you don't want them to go, oh, geez, all right, I'll take this. Like I took a meeting with a company that was promising to give me a sketch of their ideas for how we might revise our website. And I'm like, sketch, that sounds interesting. And it was a little bit of a pitch slap, but I'm like, all right, I'll take this one. I'm kind of curious to see where would they go with it. Mm-hmm. And it was a total pitch. All they had done was taken copy from our website, thrown it into a template. They didn't have a clue what we do. They really buggled up the messaging. That's a new word. Mm-hmm. And so like they were wrong on it. And it was like trying to get off the call took me an hour. It was just so frustrating. And you don't want people to feel like that. You want them to feel like, oh, wow, I can't wait to talk to Alejandro. Okay, so we get on the call. And my first question to you would be, Alejandro, it's really nice to meet you. As we're getting started here, why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and your situation and what kind of challenges you're dealing with right now?
Perfect. So do you want me to focus on the LinkedIn piece or just overall?
Focus on the reason you took the meeting with me.
Okay. So I took the meeting with you, Candyce, because I've been using LinkedIn for a while. I did the Justin Welsh accelerator. I think it's operating system, and I was loving it. As you know, I was in exile for a while, and then I came back. So where I am,
you were in LinkedIn jail for people that aren't familiar with that.
Yeah, LinkedIn exile for like 3 months. Luckily, they noticed that it was not a bot, that it was me doing the work, and they let me back in. So where I am right now, I am slowly building. I think I'm adding. I can look at my Shield app stats, but I think I'm adding between people that want to pitch something and people that I'm actually genuinely connecting with. In the last 4 weeks, it was about 30.
Okay.
I added about 30. And that is, some of it is just people, either guests that have been booked some other way, like maybe a PR agency reaches out and we see it's a good guest and we end up connecting with them. That's one way. Another one is people that reach out Either they want to sell, some want to sell something, some truly want to connect, maybe through interaction. I interact in maybe your post or someone else's post, and they see my profile and they want to connect with me. And I also do that when I see someone that, I don't know, if they post about books, like people that I really want to have in my network, that I like their content and I like what they're doing, I usually invite them. I'm now a little bit more hesitant because of what happened with LinkedIn jail. At one point, I was connecting with a lot of the people that I saw that were super active. So all of them, when they were kind of like getting started, I connecting with them, and I was loving it, seeing their content. So now I'm a little bit more hesitant, but I'm slowly getting back there, trying to, like, maybe once a day, if I see someone that I engage with or they engage with my content, I look at their profile and I see it's cool what they're doing. If they're posting about books or something that I think we might connect, I connect with them. And then I have to say that I'm not sending the personalized message because I don't want to spam. I don't want to kind of increase the chance that they think I'm spamming. And I feel that if at some point I really have something to say, either because I have a question about something, I'll message them. But right now, that's kind of like, that's what I'm doing on the reaching out side. And on the posting side, I pick a particular topic for a whole week. So either it's a personal branding statement or content strategy, or why should you work with a personal branding consultant? Like, I try to pick something that has a little bit of, I usually do like 3 days of education components, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something that they can read and they can use. Either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, it's usually one book that I read the past month that I found interesting, and I shared some of the highlights and who do I think would get the most out of the book. And then one post usually is just something related to, not like a direct pitch, but something to let people know, because I find that you think everybody knows what you do because you do it and you post about it every day, but most people don't know. So I try to at least once a week post something related to personal branding consulting or personal branding services, just so that my network stays top of mind. If they ever need it or hear someone that needs it, they think, oh, personal branding consulting, personal branding agency, Alejandro.
Okay, cool. Okay. So I know you landed in jail for 3 months.
Yeah.
That is
I did 3 weekly stints. At the beginning, they would ban me for a week, and I would like, hey, and they would let me back in. And then suddenly it was like, too many red flags. We're banning you forever.
Yep, 3 strikes, you're out. Yeah. Okay. So what were the reasons that they were telling you were getting restricted?
Too many profile views.
Okay.
Higher than normal. And I know why that is. It's because I was asking people to endorse me for personal branding and thought leadership when I was making the rebrand. And I did. I think that's why they noticed that it was not a bot, because I did get the endorsement. I was messaging the people that I either had worked with or went to college with, and they ended up endorsing me.
Okay, so you did that via DM, not connection request?
Yeah, via DM. Yeah,
okay.
It's people that I already knew, so I was just messaging them. So they, number one, they said they had an unreasonably large amount of profile views. They thought I was using a bot. Then the second one, I think it was that I was watching too many profiles. It's because I was doing I had a bookmark with all the profiles that I wanted to engage with. And I was in the morning kind of like going through them to see if they had posted something to engage directly with their content.
So you had a whole bunch of tabs open?
Yeah, so too many tabs.
So how's that differ than the too many profile views?
Well, because like I had too many
too many people looked at your profile? Okay, too many profiles open in the tab, right?
Yeah, that was, so the first one was too many people unreasonably large amount of people looked at my profile.
That's a new one on me. I haven't heard that one before.
I guess they have kind of like an average. And if you go too far, they assume that it's a bot.
How did you get people to look at your profile? Were you driving any of that?
Oh, yeah, because I was asking them to endorse me. So they have to go to my profile. To endorse
So
me
it
for
was
a
all through
skill.
DM. It was connections who were looking at your profile.
Yes, yes. It was
Interesting.
connections.
How many people did you request?
Maybe 100.
How quickly?
Oh, super quick, like maybe in 1 week or less, or 2 weeks.
Okay.
I did like 20 a day or something like that.
Wow, I am really shocked that
Mhm.
that one got you restricted. Okay, so too many views of your own profile was the first restriction.
Yes,
Then
I think so. And I did, like, I got 65 endorsements, for
endorsements.
example. So like think like 65%. Like let's say I message 100. Some people don't use LinkedIn, but the majority that did saw it, they endorsed me. So there you go.
Okay.
Like that was.
And
that
then
was,
you got restricted for all those endorsements
I got
or for
restricted
requesting.
because I think the message was, and I can check, but it was first unreasonably a large amount of profile views, and I was getting a lot of profile views because I was asking people to endorse me.
Right.
So
So
a
it's all
lot of,
part of the same
yeah,
thread.
so that's kind of like one thread. Then the other thread was when I was inviting too many people. I didn't know,
Oh,
like
okay.
before there was no restriction.
Yeah.
Like many years ago, you could invite any, like in a day, you could invite the whole population on LinkedIn.
Well, and
You would have,
that's the basis for the bots and the outsourcers is
yeah.
their value propositions shrunk, which is why LinkedIn, I think, tried to inhibit that.
Yeah, and I love it, and now I know it. But I think because I had that one first, then they saw this one. It's like, oh, looks like a bot again.
Yeah.
Because I was just like connecting with everyone. That I was like, I would see in the comments if they like my post, connect. If they see this, connect. Like I was just connecting with a lot of people.
And I
per
bet
day.
your acceptance rate was around 20%.
I don't remember. That's a good question. Usually it's high, my acceptance rate, because I don't spam. And I guess I don't know. That's a good question. I would have to check. But that was the second one. Too many invitations to connect, and there was a limit. And then the third one was I was watching too many profiles in a row. Again, another behavior that looks like a bot.
Right. Right.
So those were
Okay.
the three. I still have my bookmarks, but now the way I do it is I just open LinkedIn and go through my feed. And if I see something interesting, I comment.
Right.
That's about it.
Are you using Sales Navigator?
I am not. I
Okay.
have the
Okay.
basic LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. How is this limitation you're placing on yourself now out of fear of getting banned again? How is that affecting your business?
It's not affecting it that much. We don't rely on LinkedIn for lead generation. The majority of the people just find us either through our videos on YouTube or our content on Google, and that's how we do it. I want LinkedIn to, right now, the way I'm thinking about it is I want it to be confirmation and a nurturing space, because I'm making, again, I'm testing this, and one of the call to actions that I'm making in my content now, instead of book a call or check our services, is, hey, if you want to learn more about personal branding, if you want to stop worrying about, that's kind of like our promise, stop worrying about where your clients are going to come from, build a personal brand and let them come to you. So my main call to action in the majority of my blogs now is to follow me on LinkedIn. And I have seen an uptick in people. It's not big because we only get about 700 visitors per month, but I did see a change in Shield app, so that is working. So my goal with LinkedIn right now is either this, like this happened on LinkedIn, and I'm so like this mindful conversation and relationship and everything. So I want more of this to happen on LinkedIn, to those conversations. And I also want to nurture people that find me on Google, but then they follow me. So then they stay there and they keep getting the message, so that at some point, this might be another avenue for lead generation.
So what I'm hearing is that you want people who are following you to see your posts, engage with your posts so that more people like them will see your posts, And you want, I also heard earlier that your connections, the people you're connecting with right now, or your old connections, are people from college, people from jobs and things like that, not necessarily your target audience. So what percentage of your current connections would you say are in your target audience?
Oof, small. Between connections and followers, I have almost 3,500, and I would say maybe 500 are.
Okay. So a little better than 10%, maybe
Yeah.
20%-ish.
I would put it at 10%. Let's say
10%.
10%, 350.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the important thing to understand about LinkedIn is that regardless of the fact that LinkedIn is trying to encourage followers, your first degree connections are the ones who are most likely to see your content. And you can tell that by watching who's commenting and who's engaging with your content. It's mostly first degree. And so where LinkedIn seems to be discouraging connections and encouraging followers, the algorithm doesn't agree with the company around that. So the first thing that I would look at is you have what's called, I'm going to share my screen now. You have what's called creator mode turned on. LinkedIn is really pushing creator mode, and you get more functionality and access to things with creator mode turned on that you don't get when you don't have creator mode turned on, when you're in the regular mode. The problem with creator mode is that, so we are connected. So I have a message button here, but if I wasn't connected to you, this button would say follow instead of connect. Well, you can't direct message a follower. And while the fact that they followed you and maybe they can ring your bell to get notified about your posts, the fact is, I'm not getting posts that I've followed someone showing up in my feed. Because if you look at the feed, it's a small amount of posts here. Like, okay, we've got my partner Phil talking about an article that I just published, and then we've got an ad. And now that's a person that I engage with a lot. Notice he's first degree. Someone I engage with a lot, he's first degree. Someone I engage with a lot and also follow, but he's first degree. Let's see, how far do I have to go down to find a second degree post? That's an ad. So I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. There's my first second degree post. And it's because someone in my first degree commented on it. Keep scrolling. Okay, we've seen one, there's one more, and it's because a first degree connection engaged with it. This is that guy I was talking about that publishes these great stats on LinkedIn. I highly recommend that you follow him. He's got too many connections for you to actually be a first degree with him, I think. He may not. If he has fewer than 30,000 followers, you can send him a connection request. Okay. Anyway, so you can see that in my feed, it's almost all first degree. That's so funny.
Yeah, I just saw that post today too.
Yeah. So, that I think is really, really important. Do not connect with people, no matter what LinkedIn is telling you. The other thing is that because you're in creator mode, there's a lot of people that don't know that they can come down here and add the connection using the three dots or the more button to get a connection. So people who are listening to this on just audio, when you have creator mode turned on, your connect button turns into a follow button, and there's either a more button on the desktop or three dots on the mobile device where you can click that and scroll down and find the connect button, or on mobile, you should pick personalize the connection. And I'll go into that in a minute. But I would recommend, if you're not trying to use LinkedIn's features around LinkedIn audio or LinkedIn events, or you're not doing a newsletter on LinkedIn, I would turn off creator mode for now until you build up to about 100,000, 10,000 connections, then turn creator mode back on. There's pros and cons to it, but the con is that people are not seeing your content as much if they're just a follower. So that's number one. Number two is I have found, and I have validated this in my research, because I follow the LinkedIn blogs and the LinkedIn engineering blog. And there is evidence that when you have a DM conversation, not a one way, not a spam, not a pitch slap, but when you and I converse on DM, that is a signal to the algorithm that you're interested in me. And it makes it more likely that my content will show up in your feed. Then if you engage and comment on my content, then that's going to tell the algorithm, oh, he really is interested in Candyce's content, so you're going to see my posts more often. It's not the only indicator, but it is an indicator that makes it more likely. So you want these specific target audience to see your posts, connect with them, and engage with them on DM. And you will be more likely for them to start seeing your stuff. The other thing is that you can create a reciprocal relationship. Reciprocity is such a big part of engagement on LinkedIn. When I engage in your post and comment and like it, I'm pushing that out deeper into the LinkedIn feed. I'm helping you. I'm paying it forward. So if you see my post, you're likely to reciprocate. You know, I don't have to ask you to do it. It's just that it's human to reciprocate. So that won't happen 100%. And don't assume that you're going to get a comment for comment level of reciprocity, but you can inspire some reciprocity by paying it forward and commenting on other people's posts. I like it also because then it puts my prospects' posts into my feed, which makes it easier for me to go find them, to comment on them. So those are two things around connection requests. Now, one of the things that I would encourage you to take a look at in your network on the invitations, if you click the see all, if you've got a bunch of inbound invitations up at the top right-hand corner, that will take you to a screen where you can manage your invitations. And then you can click the sent. And this will tell you how many outstanding or pending invitations you have open. This is something I would recommend that you manage. Again, I found in the LinkedIn blog a while ago, the engineering blog, that one of the indicators or signals to LinkedIn that you're spamming is having a lot of pending connection requests, and your connection invitation to acceptance ratio is something that is really important. So if you send 100 connection requests and you get 100 accepted, you're not going to trigger an automatic restriction like if you sent 100 connection requests and 2 people accepted. So I have 36 unaccepted invitations now, and I like to keep this managed. So I haven't been in here for a while. I do not like to have these 3, 5, and 6 months. So you'll see that there's a withdraw button. I like to just kind of check to see what I said to this person. Notice it's really personal. I couldn't have sent this message to Daniel to anybody else. Hey, I saw your comment about the best way to network on LinkedIn. Notice you're in Broomfield. I'm just up the road in FOCO. You know, and by the way, I love the pictures that you posted of Manitou. Like, there's no way a bot could have sent that. Most likely, Daniel's just not that active on LinkedIn. So I'm going to withdraw that, and that takes it out. Now, because it's been more than 3 months, I could, if I wanted to, go ahead and resend a connection request to Daniel immediately, try a different approach. But I also might, like, here's Michael Rosenblatt. So he had commented on a pitch and said that he actually, or on a poll and said that he actually bought from a pitch slap, which is really curious. I'm surprised that he didn't respond to me. So I might go look at his profile to see, is he super active? And he's active right now. Well, he's got 27,000 followers. So in this case, he might be overwhelmed with inbound connection requests and might just have not seen it. Sometimes you'll go here and you'll see that they have like 400 connections, and the last time they commented on anything was 10 months ago instead of 10 minutes ago. They never saw my connection request. And so I withdraw it, but I would still go and withdraw this guy because it's been outstanding too long. And I don't like to leave connection requests outstanding for more than 3 or 4 weeks. So manage that. That is when you're withdrawing, every time you do that, it's a signal to the algorithm that you are taking it really seriously. Then the next tip that I would have for you is when you send a connection request, try to start a conversation. So here's one where I sent this message to Chris Rubenstein. I was just catching up with Emily, who he and I both know. She mentioned how you and Russell, Emily and Russell work together, have brought a whole new level of professionalism to Synthesis. That's the company he works for, sales efforts. So glad you guys are on the team. Synthesis is near to my heart because it was a former client. I would love to get acquainted. I'm actually pretty surprised that he didn't accept this because I have a really strong relationship with this company. I'm practically family with them. He's clearly not paying attention very much on LinkedIn, or he just did not want to connect with me. That's possible too. But you see how I set this. I started a conversation here, and I'm talking about his company. I'm creating a personal connection with his company, and I'm asking, would you, I'm saying I'd like to get acquainted. I might ask, would you like to get acquainted? What I find is that most of the time when people accept this connection request, they will almost immediately reply to the message, because when they accept it, it's going to pop up as a new message because I've sent a personalized message here. And then they're on LinkedIn because they just accepted the connection request. So they're going to see that as an inbound message and they reply to it. And that gets my conversation started. It is probably 4 or 5 times as hard to get a conversation started if I send a blank connection request and then try to start a dialogue later. But the key is don't pitch slap them. This is not a pitch. That's the thing that I find that most people do is they unknowingly pitch. Don't try to talk about what you do and how you can help them. You don't even know if they have a problem. So find something on their profile to start a conversation.
I didn't know about the connect follow. So I think there's a way to, if not, I guess I'll turn off the connector mode, the creator mode, but I think there's a way to make the connect priority over the follow.
There is in the regular mode, you can change the connect button to a follow button.
Okay.
But unless they've changed something recently, you can't do it in the reverse on creator mode. Now, if you find that, I want to hear about it, because if you can do it, I'm going to tell everybody to go to creator mode, because there's functionality in LinkedIn that you can't get on regular mode. But I've had conversations with LinkedIn help about this, and they're like, followers are better than connections. And I'm like, no, they're not. And it's like the guy that's one of the product managers driving the whole creator mode. And I had an argument via DM about whether connections are better than followers. And I didn't convince him. So they're really hot on this, and I don't understand why, but it's an issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the other way to bypass that would be to manually connect with your followers. Right? Like if you see a new follower come up, I think that would be a good opportunity to do that message, right? Because they're going to accept it because they're following you. So it's like, hey, thank you for following me, John. I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions about X, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Like that. I think that's something.
But I don't get an alert when people follow me. So timing is going to be important on that. Otherwise, go look for a nugget. So let's go see. It's interesting, followed by 3 connections. So these are my connections. That are any of these first degree for you, or not first degree, excuse me.
I would have to search John Rivers. John Rivers. No, he's second degree.
Okay. All right. John's a great friend. He's gone through my prospecting accelerator twice. He's amazing. So let's go look at John, and I'm going to help you craft a connection request that will get you a connection and a conversation with John. Okay. So the first thing I do is I look at his headlines. Sometimes I can pull something just from the headline I'm looking for a nugget, a conversation starter. I'm not trying to boil the ocean. I'm just trying to figure out what he's interested in. I think I actually have a meeting starting. Let me just stop sharing for a second and double check
it. And if you're listening to this is a section where we plug the second part of the podcast, because the first time we had to stop. We didn't get the timing right. So this is going to be the second portion of what we promised at the beginning, the reverse consulting. So we were talking about how to connect with people that you don't know on LinkedIn, how to do it in a mindful way. So what we're going to do right now is Candyce is going to coach me through the process of connecting with 3 people that would be a great guest for the podcast.
You sent me 3 people who were all in the accounting field. I have pulled up those 3 profiles, and the process that I teach for going after these profiles and engaging with them is to find a nugget of information that you can engage them in a conversation about. Now, the important features here are that if you want to start a conversation with someone and you want them to engage with you and like you, it's important that they don't have to be your best friend, but you're looking to get through these 3 tiers of know, like, and trust that are required for someone to decide to do business with you. So the first tier is get them to get to know them and them to know you. Well, you don't make that happen by pitching. You make that happen by starting dialogue with them. It doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't mean that you need to spend years becoming their best friend and inviting them over for a barbecue at your house. But it does mean that you need to engage with them in a way that shows that you care about them, where you're demonstrating interest in what they're interested in, so that creates affinity with them and makes them be more interested in you. And it creates this kind of culture of reciprocity that is just kind of a human nature thing. So we're going to start, it's the pay it forward, right? So we're paying forward, liking someone, respecting them, showing them some admiration and respect. So that's how we're going to start this conversation. And we do that by looking for a nugget on their profile that you can use to start a conversation about something that they are interested in. This is especially easy because you want to reach out to them about your podcast. And so, you're looking at these CPAs who want to grow their business. So it's easier, but I still think that you need to create a conversation that's meaningful for them. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I look at in a person's profile is their headline. And if I can find my nugget right here, I will just jump on it and go right there because it's efficient. In this case, I think Danielle would be pretty easy because she's talking about empowering entrepreneurs to know their numbers so they can grow their business. I might start right there saying, Danielle, I noticed your headline about, knowing your numbers so you can grow your business. And that has been the reality of my business. Is the only way that we can actually have profitable growth is if we're really clear on what the numbers are all the time. So I'd love to hear more about what you have to say about that topic, because I think it's so crucial. And then I might ask her a question about it. And just kind of thinking about that right now. Have you noticed that in your, using this headline in LinkedIn causes people to ask you questions about that or something like that? So the key about this is in the connection request, you want to engage her in a way that's really easy for her to answer you. So you want her to both accept and reply. So asking a question helps to get her to reply. But if you ask a really big question, like, how is it that you go about teaching entrepreneurs to know their numbers? That's a really long, big answer, especially for someone who specializes in that, right? So she can't answer that question quickly. She's probably seen your connection request when she took a brief break between meetings. And so if she accepts it, your message pops up as a DM now, your connection request message. But if she's got to rush into a meeting and it's like, that's like a really big question, then she's not going to take the time to answer it right then. Then what's going to happen is it's going to get buried in her messages because you can only see so many messages. And so if she gets a bunch of messages between now and next time she's on LinkedIn, she won't even see your message anymore. So it's really important to make it easy for her to respond. So be strategic about how you ask the question in order to make it really straightforward for her to respond with one phrase or one sentence that she can type out with her thumbs on her phone, if that makes sense.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, because you want to
So
get them committed quickly, right? With that like simple answer that they don't have to think too much about it. Boom, and you already have a conversation going. I love that.
exactly. It's just about getting a conversation going. It's like saying, how are you? But don't ever do that. Say, how are you? Because that looks so
Lazy. Yeah.
lazy, like a thinly veiled sales pitch. It's not a conversation starter. In reality, it's not a conversation starter in person either. Because if I say, hey, how are you? I expect you to say fine and we go on our way. You know, if I'm at Starbucks and I see you and I notice that you ordered a vanilla soy latte, I'd say, oh, wow, do you prefer the vanilla at Starbucks or have you ever tried it at Dasbog? You know, now we can have a conversation. If I say, how's your vanilla latte? You say, fine, and we're done. So it's about creating open-ended conversation pieces that allow this person to engage with you about something they're interested in.
Correct.
You know?
But I also love that point of something simple, right? Because you don't want to ask the question, do you think that soy milk is better than the other milk for your enzymes or something like that, right? Because that's too much for that small interaction about coffee. So I love that it has to be a question, open-ended, but something simple that just starts a conversation.
Exactly. It's all about starting a conversation. So that's one place that I would go with her. Another place that you can look at is the hashtags, because if she has set up creator mode, turned on creator mode with her platforms or with her profile. So she has selected these hashtags as something really important to her. So if one of those hashtags leaps out at you that you could start a conversation about that, you could go with that. And then if that doesn't jump out at you, then you can come down and you can look. The next thing I look at is the about section. And I loved this. You know, when was the last time you paid yourself? I might send her a connection request here going, man, the first year I was in business, I was paying my employee and not myself. And my mentor found out that that's what I was doing. And he totally jumped down my throat about it, saying, what's the point of being in business if you're not getting paid? And that was such an eye opener. How do you do it with your clients? Or, you know, would you use the same approach or something like that? Again, keep it easy, connecting it, showing respect for what she's saying, and that it really resonated with you is valuable, because you're showing her honor and admiration. And that's a really, really important thing to do. People love to be admired.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's two nuggets that I found just really quickly going through, but there's a ton of stuff in her profile. The next place that you could look is at her content. And here's something that she recently shared just 4 hours ago. So it's very recent to her. I would recommend that if you can come up with something compelling here, that you comment on this at the same time that you're sending that connection request. Because when you comment on her content, you're paying it forward by pushing her content out into the feed. So like it and comment, but provide a meaningful comment, not just great post, right? Because that also demonstrates respect, admiration, and makes her like you.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds, yeah, I'll hop in, comment, and then send that connection request for sure.
And one of the things to be aware of is she's only got 13 comments. So when you comment on it, it's going to show up in her notifications that someone reacted or commented. And so it's valuable when there's not too many. So if you were one of the 8 others, you may not show up directly in her notifications. And if it's a really big post where there's a ton of engagement, it's a little harder for her to notice you in these notifications. In her case, because this is a fairly recent post, and
probably the majority are replies, so there's probably only 7 comments.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Quite a few. I mean, she's definitely getting great engagement. The other thing that I do sometimes is, and for you too, given that you're going after podcast hosts, if you go through these comments and engage in the thread, so you want to do 2 things: engage at the top of the thread so that you're starting a new thread, because that's what the algorithm senses to push it out into the feed. But also, if you engage in the conversation by replying to some of these, that just helps to increase engagement, which Danielle's going to appreciate, but it's also going to bring visibility to you. So, for example, just before we jumped on this call today, I commented on a post with somebody who was talking about how he hates sales on LinkedIn and hates people who sell on LinkedIn. And I commented on it saying, you know, I think that selling on LinkedIn is fine as long as you take this human to human approach. And we had this engagement back and forth, and he got back to me and booked a meeting with me to talk about how we do sales on LinkedIn. That can happen to anybody. You know, if you go and you take, even if it's a contrarian approach, that kind of commenting attracts people to you that you might not have even known. I had another dialogue that's been going on for a while on a post that somebody in the information security industry had posted about how he gets aggravated with people constantly pitch slapping on LinkedIn. And I've gotten connection requests from probably 15 or 20 people in that industry because they saw my comments and engagement, both at the top of the threads and also within those threads. So I highly recommend that, not just to pay it forward to Danielle and get her attention, but to also get the attention of some of these other people, because some of these other people might be great podcast guests for you. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving it. Everything sounds great. I'm taking notes so I can do the homework.
So let's do Joel. Okay, so Joel Chamberlain, also a CPA. I love the fact that you picked one target audience because it makes it easier when you're going after people in the same niche. You can get into dialogue with them about trends and things like that, that is helpful for you to demonstrate an understanding of their business. So this one is interesting because Joel is talking about himself in the third person. And just as a tip for anybody watching this, I really discourage you from using third person like this, unless you're a politician or the CEO of Delta. Write in first person. Be personal and human to human. It makes the difference in how people perceive you and trust you. This is creating distance. It's almost like putting a podium between you and your audience, instead of taking the podium out of the way and connecting more directly with your audience. So let's take a look here. So first of all, he says he's a CPA for entrepreneurs. Now, I could leap right off of that and say, it's really interesting that you are a CPA focused on entrepreneurs. I love that. Do you know, what kind of size company do you tend to look for for example, and get a conversation going that way. Then I could go further into his profile, and there's a few different things that he's doing around tax planning, prep, and consulting to middle market companies in a variety of industries. So now he's saying entrepreneurs, but I think he doesn't mean early stage. So I might ask him that, are you working with entrepreneurs or early stage companies, or are you working with more established middle market? I could ask him that, or for me, because I've done quite a bit of work with ERP providers in the cloud, I might grab something around the cloud accounting tech and ask him, do you have a platform you prefer? So you see where I'm going is I'm looking for an easy answer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some other things that leaped out at me is that this guy's really involved in charitable work, and I hugely respect that. So he's got the Episcopal Children's Services. He's also on the USO Florida board. And so he's doing a lot of work in a lot of different nonprofits. And then he's previously been involved in all of these. And he got this Jackson Business Journal honor as a top leader under 40. So I could even go look up that article and start a conversation. There's so much here that I don't need to, although I might, just because I'm curious about him now, reading this about him. And then he's got some really interesting posts. Plus he talks a little bit about the nonprofits that he's involved in. So many nuggets on Joel's profile to go grab.
Yeah. Now I had a question. When you, I think the three that I picked are people that are active on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to connect with someone, let's say for whatever reason, and you see a profile that clearly looks that it's not being used. Right. I know there's a lot of lurkers on LinkedIn that they don't engage, they don't share anything, but they still use it. So what would be your recommendation when you see a profile that there's zero to no activity? They haven't done any posting, any commenting. Do you still try and do the work?
Let me show you a real example. Okay, so this is a first degree connection. This is somebody that I reached out to on LinkedIn. She has only 19 connections. She's not very active on LinkedIn. She's got a little bit here, but not a lot to grab onto, and then she doesn't really say much here. I mean, I could probably grab some around, I'd be curious to know how you use social media to promote dynamics or something like that, because I work a lot with people in the ERP and CRM industry, a lot of resellers. But if I didn't have that, and then she's been posting, but it was just a reshare. It's not something she posted herself. And same here. So if I go look at her activity, she is not posting very actively. That was a month ago, and it was just a share from a company post. Same here. So she's not doing anything original on LinkedIn for me to grab onto. Ott is a small enough company, and she's in sales and marketing, so I could leap off of one of those. She's getting zero engagement. So if I liked and commented on that, then that would definitely be something she would see, assuming she's on LinkedIn. But this was a month ago. And I look at her activity here. This was also a month ago. So most likely she hasn't actually been on LinkedIn in the past month, or if she has, she's strictly lurking. So if I send her a connection request, it is probably not going to be something she will see right away. So in that case, I would go look her up on Google. So we'll do Claire Sheehan. I have to spell right. And I'm going to put her company name in there so I find the right person. Here she is. And so I'm going to go look for her. Now, you could go look her up on Facebook if you wanted to, although I don't tend to use Facebook, and Zoom info is probably not going to give me all that much useful information. I mean, I might get something off of Facebook. I don't tend to go there because it's more personal for most people. My first place to go is here, the OT team. So here I find, this is interesting. Okay, this guy's got the same name as Claire, and he looks to be similar in age to her. So I'm wondering if he is either a sibling or her husband. So I might send her a connection request saying, I noticed that the CEO of your company and you share the same last name. My husband and I run a business together. Are you guys also a family-owned business?
That's good. That's good.
So another thing I know about her is that I know Cheryl Salazar. And so the other way that I could reach out to her is say, hey, I noticed that Cheryl Salazar serves as your marketing director. I know her through her work at the Partner Marketing Group, which they are actually a partner of mine. And, you know, we work a lot together. So I'd love to chat with you about your experience working with Cheryl. I adore her. You know, something like that could be my, now with Claire, I probably would try to track down her email address and I would send her a connection request, but I would also send her an email using exactly the same strategy both ways. Because I don't care whether she engages with me over LinkedIn or email. I just want her to engage.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so then you sent me this person, Max le Entrepreneur. And Max is super, super active on LinkedIn. So again, he's super easy because there's so many nuggets. I might go, I love the fact that you grabbed this name. Is it really your name? You know, and ask him that. You know, he talks about financial success and CPA. This downtown Miami CPA for entrepreneurs is an interesting angle. Like, you know, how's the entrepreneurial climate in Miami post-COVID or whatever? You know, I mean, I could start a conversation right from there. Or I might come down here and look at some of the things that he is talking about around leadership, because he's really focused on leadership and mentoring. And so I might grab something off of that and ask, you know, he's talking about mentoring clients, staff, and college interns. I might ask him, I'm thinking about asking him about how different it is to mentor a client versus an intern, but that's a long question. So I wouldn't go with that because it's too big. So I might ditch that and go after something else here. You know, he's got this financial engineering background. You might play off of that. I know you want to do a podcast with him, so you probably would see something else in here that you'd want to do an intro off. Do you see something?
Yeah, and not right now, but I'm sure that I can find something specific, either from his posts or something that, hey, I would love to chat more about that on our podcast or something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some fabulous posts in here.
He does a lot of videos too.
Oh, awesome. And he's not getting a lot of engagement. So, you know, 3 comments, 4 comments. Oh my gosh, that baby is adorable. 6 comments. He's commenting about his family a lot. So I would definitely try to tie that in, especially for us because we're a family-owned business. But yeah, there's lots and lots of stuff off of his posts. And fortunately, he's posting frequently. So I generally don't go older than a month when I'm trying to talk to him about a particular post, unless I'm really specific about what he said in that, because it's hard to remember back that far.
Correct.
So I try to go recent if I can find something meaningful there. Oh my gosh, that baby. I would totally go for that. As a female, I can easily go, oh my gosh, your little boy is so adorable. And he looks like his dad. So you could go there too. Now, one of the keys about being strategic in how you start the conversation is to begin with the end in mind. So if I start a conversation about this incredibly adorable child, how do I then transition it to talking about selling on LinkedIn? Like if that's what I want to talk to him about.
Yeah.
It can make it really awkward if we get on a conversation to talk about our children. And then I say, so how's your LinkedIn sales going? Or something like that. That's a weird transition. It's not human to human. It's salesy. It's pushy. So as cute as this baby is, I probably would comment on that and go after something here where he's talking more about business, because I will find this transition easier.
Correct. Yeah, that makes a
So
lot of sense.
you want to think about, at the point that you get them on the phone, how are you going to connect the dots so that the conversation smoothly flows into what you ultimately want to talk about. You may not talk about it in the first conversation, but you have to at least get that first conversation going in the right direction so that the second call can be on point.
Absolutely. All that sounds great, Candice. I believe that without a doubt, unless something weird happens in the world, we'll have these 3 people in the podcast soon.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Perfect. Yeah. So just to recap, we did first the reverse consulting. We worked with you. We have identified a topic that we're going to cover. We're going to work together on that blog so that it ranks you for social selling on LinkedIn. Then and then we're going to report on that and how it goes and how that ranks, and hopefully see how that helps you attract people and get you leads. Then I am going to reach out to these 3 people with the strategies that we just talked about, hopefully have them on the podcast. And I think it's going to be a cool full circle when we inform them that they were a guest in the podcast because of another podcast episode. And then we will update there on the podcast page the results that we both had with this reverse consulting, so that if anybody has questions about it, of course they can use what we mentioned in the episode, but if they have questions about it, they can reach out to both. How does that sound?
I think it's fantastic. This was so cool to do this. I did write the draft of the blog post. I just sent it to you last night. So I think it was really helpful to have those keywords that you gave me to structure the article. So hopefully it's in reasonable shape. It definitely needs editing. So I look forward to your feedback on it.
Absolutely. I saw it. We will work through that. And for everyone listening and or watching to the episodes, thank you so much for the patience and for being here with us in this experiment. And I have a feeling that this is not going to be the last experiment that Candice and I do together. So thank you very much. We hope you got some value, and we'll see you in the next episode.
But wait, reach out to us on LinkedIn and tell us whether you like this experiment and like, did this work for you? What would you change? Like, give us some feedback, because it is an experiment. It was just this wild idea we had, and we want to know if it was useful.
It is. That is true. Reach out either via LinkedIn. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can just comment below and let us know if that was valuable to you. If you're seeing this on LinkedIn in one of the posts that we do, please do that there. Reach out to us via our LinkedIn profiles, which are going to be linked somewhere around this video for sure. So thank you very much for that idea, Candice. And thank you very much for listening and being here with us in this experiment.